Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about biofertilizer. So if you see the objectives of biofertilizer, so first thing, so we should learn what is biofertilizer and their characteristic and understand their prospects in agricultural and their benefits through their beneficial nature of compositions. And also we have to look after the difficulties in biofertilizer productions and also the issues related to the biofertilizer, and also we have to look on low cost and suitable and efficient biofertilizer for your organic farming. And here we have the contents, and here we are going to see the introduction part and types of biofertilizers and their description and methods of biofertilizer inoculations, advantages, disadvantages. At last, we have constraints in biofertilizers. So generally, the agricultural lands which gets improvised after a long term of cultivations, if not supplemented properly with inputs, so you can't have the good yield, and also the nutrition value also will get affected. So due to that, we have to improvise or give nourishment to the soil to get better products from the farmer. And next we have supplement. So that is the nutritions we are going to provide to the soil, so which makes conventional farming system and also applies very high dosage of agrochemicals, which in turns which leads to the polluting the ecosystem. So this causes will be very problematic for the soil and also in farming. So we have to neglect the usage of agrochemicals, which is synthetic fertilizers. We have to not consider that, and also we have to look into the biofertilizer based fertilizers. And we have we through the biofertilizer we can make agricultural system sustainable, and also we can implement a balanced and responsible usage of organic organic agriculturals, and also we have the importance of the the importance of the agriculturals, and we have the principles of organic farming also outlined through the similar concept, where the soil health also has to be recognized and also identified through what is the nature of soil and in which stage it is, either in a toxic stage or very healthy stage. So those things we have to identify it, and then we have to give more supplements, that is the biofertilizer based supplements we have to give. And also through this practice we can make biodiversity to build in sustained position, and through that the plants can grow very longer time and enormously will get lot of amount of nutrition value products through our mother earth. And here we have the biofertilizers. What is biofertilizers? So if we see the self-explanatory, where so the biofertilizer ready to use leaf formulation of such a beneficial microorganism. So if you see the bio, so that is the life form of microorganism or any organisms. So here the fertilizer which needs microorganisms in life form, so which can be applied onto the seeds, roots, soil, and mobilize availability of nutrition through their biological activity. So in case if I have the microorganism, so I'm going to apply on the roots or the seeds and soil. And if soil which contains some sort of seeds or some kind of toxic, so in the time, so this meanwhile, this microorganism will start to utilize the toxic and reduce it to the very non-toxic components. And those non-toxic components can be utilized by different plant system or some other microorganism for beneficial of that particular soil. And also, if you're trying to apply the biofertilizer to the seeds, or seeds kind of soaking for 1 or 2 days, or maybe 1 or 2 hours. So in that time, so this microorganism will attach on top of that layer, and then it will have its penetration within that seeds, and while it started to grow, and it have good combinations and mutual interaction between the microorganism and seed system, that is the plant, and through that the common biological activity will be shared, and which will enhance the plant growth in very good manner. And also, this biofertilizer help build up the soil microflora. So that is very important. So if any contaminated area, so where if you apply the good microorganism, so which will try to eradicate all sort of chemicals, molecules, that is the utilization of chemical molecules into sub products, and through that you will be getting very minimal toxic components, or those components can be utilized by the plant system. And through that, the soil health also will get benefited, and also the organic forms, which excludes the usage of any chemicals. And if you see the biofertilizer usage, so which will improve the soil fertility in organic farming. So that's why the many agriculturalists or the scientists those days, like not in like the earlier days, like this decades, they many of them they are concentrating on biofertilizer based supplements to the farming system. And here we have the simple form of classifications of biofertilizers. The first one for nitrogen. So there are three major classifications for nitrogen, and for phosphorus, and for enriched composite. And if you see the nitrogen, where we have rhizobium for legume crops, and other bacterium, azobacter or azospirillum for non-legume crops, and third one, acetobacter for sugarcane, and blue-green algae and azolla for very lowland paddies. And if you go to the second level, that is the phosphorus-based biofertilizer, that is the Phosphatica, and for all crops to be applied with rhizobium and the acetobacter, and you have Zos erula, and that is in the form of acetobacter, and we have VAM, that is the vascular arbosicular mycorrhizae. And last, we have enriched composite. So where cellulolytic fungal culture or Phosphatica or acetobacter cultures can be used to improve the soil nature. And here we have the concept of biofertilizer. So here you can able to see the different sort of pictures, and this biofertilizers refers to the preparation containing live microbes, which helps in enhancing the soil fertility, and either by fixing the atmospheric nitrogen or solubilizing of phosphorus, or decomposing the organic waste, or by augmenting plant growth by producing growth hormones with their biological activities. So here we have 4 examples. So like you can see that the first one, Rhizobium bacteria, so which is kind of rod shaped, and the second one, bacteria in roots. So as I said, like which will have the interaction between the plants and the microbes, which will try to benefit to the plants, not like the disease causing microbes, which is very useful, or harmless microorganisms, and also which supports for the growth and development. And we have bacteria in root surface. There you can top that, you can able to see that. And through this, you have the legume inoculations. So this sort of microorganism can be applied in both leguminous plants and also in non-leguminous plants. So next one, we have the classification of biofertilizers. So there are two main types of classifications. The first one, nitrogen fixing biofertilizer, and the second one, phosphorus solubilizing biofertilizer. The nitrogen fixing biofertilizer, where you can able to see that it's only applied either leguminous or non-leguminous. So for example, leguminous, you have rhizobium, and for non-leguminous like cereals, where you'll be applying Acidobacter, Azolla, blue-green algae, and Azospirilla. So if you go to the next level, where we have phosphorus solubilizing biofertilizer, so where the phosphate solubilizer is the one type, the another type phosphate absorber. The phosphate solubilizer is the Bacillus, Pseudomonas, Aspergillus, Penicillium. So these are the microorganisms are being used for the phosphorus solubilizing bacteria as a bacteria. And if you see the other type, that is the phosphate absorber, where we have the vascular articular mycorrhizae, that is in the short form VAM. And we have the types of biofertilizer. The first one, nitrogen fixing biofertilizer. So nitrogen fixing biofertilizer, which contains bacteria, which works under two conditions. One will be the symbiotically, the another one will be the non-symbiotic. So symbiotic will have mutual beneficial to the plants, and whereas the non-symbiotic, which will do its actions automatically, and also which does not rely upon the other plants or the other system. So which will try to make the soil into very fertile nature by utilizing nitrogen-based substrate, and which will produce it and which will maintain the soil nature. And symbiotic bacteria make association with crop plants through the forming nodules in their roots, and through that, which will try to inject their metabolic products into the root system. And through the root system, the plant can absorb their metabolites, the microbial metabolites, and they can be able to uptake it and start to process it. And if you go to the second one, free living bacteroid not form any association, that is the non-symbiotic bacteria, which do not form any symbiotic nature or the association nature, and also which will live freely, as like it will have some substrate and which will be at different places, and which will try to fix the atmospheric nitrogen through different substrate molecules. So here we have two major classifications. One is the symbiotic, another one is the non-symbiotic. Symbiotic will depend on the plants and which will support the plant's growth, whereas the non-symbiotic, which does not attach to the plants and still which will produce a lot of nutrients in the form of nitrogen fixing in the soil, and through that the plant will get benefited, and the plant will have good growth and development and product yielding. So here, this picture, which will clearly indicates the atmospheric nitrogen, how it is happening. For example, the plants which contains the roots, here we have the roots, and these roots assimilations, there are the assimilations, and also the atmospheric nitrogen will be produced or decomposed in the form of nitrogens, and through that, which will do nitrates or the ammonification, the conversion of ammonification functions. So here you can able to see that the first step, the nitrogen fixing bacteria living in the legumes or root nodules, and through that the nitrogen fixing soil bacteria. This is the nitrogen fixing soil bacteria, and this nitrogen will be converted into the ammonium, and that process will be calling it as the ammonifications. And in ammonium, the ammonification process, the decomposer role will be playing out. The decomposers are like the column, so where the mushroom type of plants or the small plants which can have the aerobic or anaerobic bacteria or the fungi association, so which will try to decompose the ammonium and which will load the same ammonium material or the sub components to the plants. And the next step is the nitrification, that is the nitrogen nitrifying bacteria, so which will enable the excessive amount of ammonium into nitrates, and this process will be calling it as the nitrifications. And from the nitrates, the nitrifying bacteria again will have its role and which will try to convert it into nitrates. And this nitrate can move into the assimilation and can attach to the plant legumes or the root nodules, and where it will have its interaction, and through that the plant will get benefited. And the nitrates alone can be denitrified through the bacteria, and which will again move to the atmospheric nitrogens. Okay, so this cycle will be continuously happening, and further the microorganism which should be in soil. So if it is there, the soil will get fertile, and through its all this process, the atmospheric nitrogen fixation process, and through that the farming will be very easy for the farmers, and through that they will get benefited through their yielding and very nutritional products. And here we have the details about the rhizobium bacteria. And rhizobium, which lives in the root hairs of legumes by forming nodules. And so this rhizobium was established by Frank in 1889. The genus has 7 distinct species based on the cross inoculations. This cross inoculation group concept, and there are like more than 20 cross inoculation groups have been established so far. And from the 7, we have almost 20 cross inoculations, and which helps us to have more access to the biofertilizers. So that is very valid point here. And we have new classification has been established after this, all this cross inoculation groups. And now the slow growing rhizobia known as the bradyrhizobium, and the other group is that is the fast growing rhizobia. There are like 2 classes. One is the slow growing, another one is the fast growing rhizobia. And that will be calling it as the rhizobium. The fast growing is the rhizobium, and the slow growing is the bradyrhizobium. And still this classification is discretely not distinguishable because of the bacteria of one group may infect the other group. So due to that, the scientists, they are very aware to not a crossing. So we should not do again crossing to completely degrade that particular uh, bacteria species. So they are avoiding that, and they are just maintaining their nature nowadays. And this is called the principles of cross inoculation, because they have tried it different times and they got some good results. And now they are not going to the next level. Still, the parameters at the genome level has to be controlled, and then only we'll be getting the benefited products from the bacterial cells. And this will rely on assumption that is legumes within a particular infection group may nodulate by another species of nodule forming bacteria. So this particular process can be helped by with the other bacterial cells. Can be one set of cells can form the nodules, the other set of the cells will have interaction, and through that both cells can inject their products to the plants, and through that it will get benefited are the absorptions from the soil content. And here we have the methods of applications of rhizobium inoculants. If you see the methods, the seed treatment has been found to be a suitable method of rhizobium inoculations. So then we have some adhesive is used to make proper contact between the seeds and the inoculants. So earlier we have seen the root biofertilizer or seed biofertilizer, the way of applying the seed or the soil applying. So in that, the seeds which has to be attached to that particular microbial cells, then only it will have benefits. Other than that, you can't have much benefit, like the expectation level, you can't get it. And if you see the 900 grams of soil-based culture is sufficient to inoculate seeds for 1 hectare. So that is very interesting. So about 900 grams, so which going to be very beneficial about 1 hectare area. So consider that the amount of the the value from that small 900 grams, the yield. And again, we have 10 percentage of jaggery solution is to use to sticker for rhizobium cells for the seeds, and through that it will have good interaction with the cells and between the cells and seeds, and through that it will get benefited, and it will have good growth and development. And also we have the solutions which is spread through over the seeds and mixed to build up a thin coat over the seeds. And after asking uh, the proper coating of slurry over the seeds, and then the inoculant is sprinkled over the seeds, and the content is again mixed thoroughly. And this process will be properly done, and then be dried by shading, by shade drying, and then the spreading out of entire seeds for overnight, so which makes that inoculum ready for its production. That is the uh, inoculations or the plantations. So if you see the entire process, the jaggery, which has significant role to have interaction between the seeds and the microorganism, and also the next step will be moving towards to bring out the slurry, and then the inoculant is sprinkled over the seeds, and then again which is mixed thoroughly, and this mixed content will be shade dried overnight, and through that particular seeds will be ready for its plantations or growing. And again, we have this free living or non-symbiotic bacteria does not form any nodules, but still make association by living in the rhizosphere. Like Azospirillum species establish association with many plants, particularly sea plants, or maize and sorghum, sugarcane. So these are the few plants. So where non-symbiotic bacteria will have the interactions, and through that it will give the benefits to that particular plants. And also the common organism that can form associate symbiosis on large variety of plants. And there again you have Azospirillum is recognized as one of the dominant soil microbiome. So which has very significant role for many biofertilizer industries, where they are depending upon this Azospirillum, and they're producing yet tons of biofertilizer to the farmers, and through that the farmers will get benefited in each year. And we have the blue-green algae. So in blue-green algae, so if you see that this is the another important class of biofertilizer. So blue-green algae are very small organism, can be seen under a microscope as a single cell or large accumulation of cells or strings of cells. They have similar external appearance that of algae or azolla growing in a plant. Their requirements for light and nutrition and the carbon dioxide also very similar. So azolla and the algae are very similar in natures. So next one we have Azobacter. So Azobacter is a heterotrophic, free-living nitrogen-fixing bacteria present in alkaline, neutral soils, and also Azotobacter chromicum is the most commonly occurring species in arable soils of India. And apart from that, which can have the ability to fix the atmospheric nitrogen in soils, it also can synthesize growth promoting substance like the auxins or gibberellins, and also some extent to the vitamins. So these products from the acetobacter can promote the plants to produce large quantity of auxins and gibberellin and other vitamins components. And many strains of acetobacter also exhibit fungicidal properties against certain species of fungus. And also, if you see the response of Acetobacter has been seen very long time in rice, maize, and cotton, sugarcane, pearl millet, and vegetables, and some plantation crops. And this field experiments carried out on different types of Acidobacter, and also nowadays many industries are the farmers, they are trying out with the Acidobacter based biofertilizer, which has been developed by different agricultural scientists. And if you see the futures of Acidobacter, where we have Acidobacter contributes to the moderate benefits, and also Acidobacter, heaviest breathing organism, which requires large amount of carbons for its growth, and also it is poor competitive for nutrition in soil. It can benefit the crops by nitrogen fixing and release of growth promoting substance and fungicide substance. And also Acidobacter is less effective in soils with poor organic matter content, and also it improves seed germination and plant growth. And the next one is the Acetobacter. The Acetobacter diazotrophicus is a newly discovered nitrogen-fixing bacteria associated with sugarcane crops. This bacterium belongs to the alpha group of Proteobacteria. It was isolated from leaf, root, bud, and stem samples of sugarcane plants. And Acetobacter is located in the apoplastic fluids of sugarcane stem and to some extent in xylem vessels. And it is an acid and a high salt tolerant bacterium, and also sucrose loving bacterium, which can fix up to 200 kilograms of nitrogen per hectare. So which is very efficient in nature when you're comparing with the other bacterial species. The next one we have vascular arbuscular mycorrhizae. So this vascular arbuscular mycorrhizae, the term mycorrhizae was taken from the Greek language meaning fungus root. This term was coined by Frank in 1885. The mycorrhizae is a mutualistic association between the fungal mycelia and plant roots. And if you see the vesicular arbuscular mycorrhizae is an endotrophic live inside mycorrhizae formed by aseptate Phycomycetes fungus, and also this vesicular arbuscular mycorrhizae helps in nutrition transfer, mainly the phosphorus, zinc, sulfur. And they also mobilize different uh, components like copper, potassium, aluminium, manganese, iron, magnesium from soil to the plant roots. So if you see this vesicular arbuscular, which have multifunctional roles between the plants and the soils, and especially which can enable lot of nutrition ingredients to push into the plant system, and through that the plants can get very well growth and their development, and through that we'll be getting very good yield. And they possess vesicles, sac-like a structure for storage of nutrition, and arbuscular for funneling them into your root system. And if you see the mechanism of action, and where we have the worm, that is the vesicular arbuscular mycorrhizae forms an association with plant roots, and it penetrates in root cortex and spreads around the roots of the plant. As the name indicates, they possess a sac-like structure, vesicles, which stores phosphorus as a phospholipids. Other structure called arbuscle. This helps bringing the distinct nutrition to the vesicles and the roots. The action of mycorrhizae, which enhance the feeding area of plant root, is a hyper spreads around the seed foods and also mobilize the nutrients from the distance to the root and store the nutrition in the form of phosphorus and remove the toxic chemicals, examples phenolic, which otherwise hinder the nutrition availability, and provide protection against the very bad fungal or nutramites. And if you see this particular mycorrhiza alone, which can have very multiple functions from vesicular to the sac or the arbuscular, so there are like a different storing that if you see the rules of that this mycorrhizae bacteria, and which has the role of storing a phosphorus in the form of phospholipids, and also which has the herbicicular, which which will send the nutrition to the uh, vesicles and the roots, and also which can store different types of components, that is the from zinc and iron, manganese, magnesium, and we have large variety of components, so that can be easily stored and also can be easily mobilized into the plants. Even it is in the distinct very large area, it can easily push into the particular place, and through that the plant will get the development will get enormous, and through that the yield of the plants or the protection from the environment, which will be easily achievable by the farmers. So which is one of the most um, easily acceptable and easily accessed type of biofertilizer, which has more benefits, especially in sugarcane breeding or in plantations. And the next one, the methods of biofertilizer inoculation. So the seed inoculation is the most common practice of applying biofertilizer. So in this method, the biofertilizer are mixed with 10% of solution of Zagri. In earlier cases, we have seen that. And after Zagri, we'll be spreading out the seeds. And again, we are mixing out again and again, and which makes a thin layer. And after that, we'll be doing shade dry overnight, and then we'll be using it. The 700 grams of biofertilizer, which can be recovered to treat the legume seeds of 1 hectare. In the earlier case, the Acidobacter or Azolla, so which needs 900 grams for 1 hectare, and this BAM, which needs only 70 grams for 1 hectare. And if you see the soil application, this method is mostly used for the fruit crops as sugarcane and other crops located, localized applications needed. So even I said, so this is one of the interesting microorganism which has more beneficial. And at the time of planting of fruit trees, 20 gram biofertilizer mixed with the composites and added in the ring of one sapling. And sometimes the biofertilizer also broadcasted in soil, but we may require 4 to 10 times more biofertilizer. In some cases, the soil, if it is not fertile in nature, so in the time, so we need to give more supplement to that. And before broadcasting, the inoculant should be incubated with desired amount of well decomposed granulated, and about that is the 24 hours. There is the preparation of uh, biofertilizer that is very important. And the self-inoculations, tubes inoculation. So this is the method suitable for applying Acidobacter. So in this 50 liters of water is taken in a drum, and 4 to 5 kilogram of Acidobacter biofertilizer is added and mixed properly, and the planting material liquid for 1 hectare. So we can have this 50 liters which contain 4 to 5 kilograms of Acidobacter, so which can be applied for 1 hectare. And if you see the advantages, there are many advantages of using biofertilizer. They form an important association with other microbial cells and also the soil, which helps in maintaining the nutrition supply and sustain that nature and fix the atmospheric nitrogen and increase the availability and uptake of nutrition through the solubilization or the increased absorptions and stimulate plant growth through the hormonal or antibiotic actions, and they are very cheaper. If you think about the fertilizer, chemical fertilizer, it's very cheaper, hence the reduced cost of cultivations, and improves soil properties and sustains soil fertility for longer time, and also compatible with the long term of sustainability and build up soil fertility with the long term. So this will be very long term and eco-friendly. It's very eco-friendly and poses very no damage to the environment. And if you see the disadvantages, there are no harmful impact of biofertilizer if it is used properly in some constraint. Specific to the plants, Rhizobium species culture does not work well in high nitrate tolerant strains of soybean, and the acceptability of biofertilizer has been rather low cheaply due to the awareness and the preparations. That takes very we are quite time, and say a skilled person they can produce it and apply to the plants. And also the storage, which is very difficult. So if we prepare it, you should use it within a days or 2 days, within a very short period of time we have to use it. And these are the reference I have followed it. And, thank you so much for listening.